But right now, let's meet our next guest, Karl Kaufman from American Dream. How are you doing, Karl?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. American Dream, it sounds like a movie, like that you just wrote a new screenplay. Tell me, what exactly is American Dream?
Well, the idea for American Dream Investing came to me because I saw how successful my dad was investing in the stock market, improving the quality of his life, and many friends of his would come to him and ask him for stock advice, stock tips, and I thought, why don't we share this with the rest of the world? I mean, this kind of education and these stock tips, if you will, are not always available to people who need to understand what's the difference between good advice, bad advice, what are good tips, what are bad tips, and people need to know how to manage their own money. So it's kind of what we're after here, to kind of educate the public.
So now it stemmed from your father.
Yes. My father, Richard, was born in Brooklyn. His father died when he was 7 years old, and he grew up in a single mother household with 4 other brothers. So they were pretty much below the poverty line there. He was the first member of his family to graduate from college, and he went on to work as a scientist and engineer for over 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had a really good, cushy job, but he discovered that he was doing so much better just investing for himself and teaching himself how to learn about the stock market. And so he retired early, and since he retired, he's been able to basically triple his personal wealth.
That's just dynamite. I mean, it is truly, now I get it. It was truly the American dream.
Yeah, it's a story that really can only take place in America, through your determination and you're willing to improve yourself. Our country really gives people the chance to succeed if they have the hard work and determination.
Yeah, and he grew up in a time, even today, that so much is being lost, but what hard work really is. And he grew up self-made, and it sounds like he's passed these attributes down to you, and that you're following in his footsteps, as that's every father would dream about.
Yeah. Unfortunately for a lot of people in my generation, and I guess I'm considered an older millennial. I'm 36.
Way over the hill.
Sometimes just the standard career mode of going to college and having a career and working the same job for 30, 40 years, it isn't really available. Or it's available, but it's not, you're not going to attain the same level of success that my father would. And so investing and really managing your finances is really a way to increase your personal wealth so that you can have the freedom to pursue whatever endeavors you decide are worthwhile.
So what have you done to carry on this legacy?
Well, I've been lucky enough to work with my dad and get along well with my dad. And, I sit and I watch him. He's taught me everything he knows about how to analyze a stock, what his philosophies are for investing. And, that careful analysis and the ability to analyze things without emotion is a real valuable lesson that my father taught to me. And also how to be responsible for your own investments. A lot of people will just hand their life savings over to a complete stranger and, read the quarterly statements and say, oh, well, okay, looks like I made some money this quarter, but they don't really know how well they're doing. And so my dad really instilled in me the hard work, the determination, so that I could follow through and, he passed his legacy on to me. And I get to really, enhance my standard of living, and hopefully a lot of other people who will join up for American Dream Investing.
Yes. Well, Karl, we have to take a break, but we're going to come right back. We're going to talk a little more about American Dream right on the other side of this break. You've been listening to CEO Money, sponsored by Tycon Partners. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to CEO Money. I'm here with Karl Kaufman from American Dreams. And we were just kind of getting into, and you just kind of touched on it a little bit, people handing over their money, their hard-earned money, blindly to strangers to trust in their investments, and your kind of issue with that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's no real personal finance education available in schools. You learn about algebra and calculus and social studies, but you don't learn about how to manage your money. So most people, when they graduate college and they get their first job, let's say, they don't know what to do with their first paycheck. And if they're not going to spend it all, they're just going to give it to somebody, find a financial advisor, and just say, here, I'll pay you a percentage and you can manage it for me.
It's kind of scary.
It is scary.
Now that you put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to dial up my broker now. Say, give it back. I'm going to the American Dream.
Right. Well, without comparing yourself to something, you don't really know how you're doing.
Truly.
So you'll get these quarterly reports, and they'll say, you made so-and-so, and I'll take my percentage of that. Well, we like to compare ourselves against the S&P 500. It's really a measure of the whole total market. And, over the last 10 years, my dad has averaged, this is, mind you, as only an individual investor with no Wall Street training, he's averaged 17% a year. And that's including the Great Recession. This year alone, we're up 23%. Now, the S&P is having a good year. I think it's over 11%. So, we're almost double the S&P this year.
No, that's pretty stout.
Yeah, and it all goes by going against conventional wisdom. We don't really diversify as far as we have three main stocks that we're highly concentrated in, and we have several other stocks that we believe we can add to as we do more research into them. But as an individual investor, you're limited to the time and the tools that you have at your disposal. You can't possibly read every financial statement that comes in of 30, 40 different companies. So, we like to keep it small and manageable. We do a lot of the homework for our members, in that we look at financial statements. We watch and listen to conference calls, watch people on CNBC, and you have to do that in order to really gauge how well the management is of a company and whether they're worth an investment.
So let me ask you, what do you think about some of these new strategies in investing?
Like, say, index funds, right?
Yeah, there's some pretty interesting, and they have compelling stories. So, I mean, you guys have you're showing some amazing returns. But tell me kind of your thought in the new strategies that they're doing.
Sure. Well, there's been a lot of popularity with the index funds. Everyone's taking their money out of mutual funds, putting them into index funds, and trying to just match the market. I guess, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So the problem with that is that you're only going to get the returns of the market. You're not going to have a better year than the S&P. On the flip side, you're not going to have a worse year than the S&P. But, you're not really actively involved in the investments, if you will. And so you can't really beat the market, let's say. Mm-hmm. Another thing are these robo-advisors, where they're like automatic robots, let's say, that are based on formulas or algorithms.
I mean, that's what I'm really talking about, because that's really a hot button right now.
Sure, especially people my age. I mean, They are loving sites like Wealthfront or Betterment.
Right.
These robo-advisors will formulate a strategy for you based on what your goals are, let's say, and they'll rebalance your portfolio, or they'll invest your dividend automatically, or they'll pick different sectors. In any case, again, if you're not interested in keeping on top of this stuff, I mean, these investments are decent, but the problem is, I mean, last year, for instance, with Betterment, when the whole Brexit came out, the market completely took a dive, and Betterment had a block on people selling any shares or buying any shares because of their algorithms. So, they completely closed down any trades from 9:30 a.m. when the market opens in New York until, or 3:30 p.m. to 4 o'clock. And those are sometimes the best times to make trades because that's when all the volatility happens. That's when all the reaction to the news is going on. So if you were a Betterment customer and you wanted to either take money out because you thought the market was going to crash, or if you wanted to...
We're going to have to wrap this up in just a minute, so
Sure.
Give me the last 10 seconds of your thoughts.
Sure. If you just wanted to add to your position, then you were out of luck. So as an individual investor, it pays to just have control of your own money all the time.
Well, you have a compelling argument. Control your own destiny. Absolutely. There's, arguments on both sides. I do get yours truly about self-management. It's coming to you from Karl Kaufman, American Dream. How do people reach you? Is it AmericanDream.com?
It's American Dream Investing.
AmericanDreamInvesting.com.
You got it.
We really appreciate you being a part of the show and enlightening us on your company and really the marketplace. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We sure appreciate it.